Today we're going to be talking about Dansco albums. This is one of the most common ways that collectors put together a Libertad series of coins for all years. So basically it's a hardbound album. Open it up and it has slotted pages with pre-cut holes and then plastic sliders that you slide them out of the way to press the coins in, slide them back in, and it keeps the coins in place. A lot of the albums, they'll come with a couple of template pages that have the years on them. And you could even see both sides of the coin as you go through them. And as the series has developed, folks have just made these albums, myself included, where you had to buy extra pages to fill in and collect more and more years as the new releases come out. So frankly speaking, this album in and of itself is pretty standardized. I would imagine there would be easy economies of scale to just have these replicated and made. But for some reason, there seems to be some crafted scarcity in the market where you just can't go on a Dansco website and pick these up easily. It seems there's folks that are putting these together aftermarket, and they're really putting some value add into it. Like I said, later on the pages, you go, the years are not there. You're buying your own blank pages. They go and they make the little labels for each year and whatnot. They make some really advanced albums where you could have all the varieties, because for certain years, there's multiple varieties to be released. I mentioned this group before. It's on Reddit, Libertad Coins. I am one of the mods. I did not create this group. And there have been posters who've mentioned, they're saying, I put together Dansco albums. Just reach out to me and I could make one for you, which is a pretty cool idea. So the Dansco album's a pretty awesome way of putting together a set, having it in a compact form and being able to store it very easily. And it lets you really just like look at all the coin elements throughout the years in the Libertad series on both sides of the coin. I wanted to highlight something right away. It's kind of important. It's something I didn't know when I first started collecting Libertads. This side, which to me is the showcase side with the Angel of Independence, it's not actually the obverse, as many would think. This is actually the reverse. So when you see graded coins and it says, make some references to the reverse side or the obverse side, this is in fact the reverse side. And where you have the coat of arms, of course, it's upside down. I'll flip it around really quick. This is the Mexican coat of arms, and that's the obverse side. What I want to do next is kind of highlight some of the elements of the Libertad series as the years have progressed, which of the attributes have changed over time. So first things first, from 1982 all the way to 1989, I'm not going to go and take them out now, but the edges of the coins themselves were flat. And on that flat etched in were the words Independencia y Libertad, which essentially means independence and liberty. So 82, 83, 84, and so forth, all the way to 89, flat edge with the etched words on that flat edged. From 1990 forward, there's no flat edge. It's reeded edges. So from 1990 all the way to current state, which is 2024, we have reeded edges. The next coin feature I want to highlight is the font. So from 1982 all the way to 1991, the font looked like just like that. And the grading companies call this the large Onza font. It basically looks like that. They look like lowercase letters, but they're large. Then from 1991, actually 1991 is a strange year, and that's because that's where the actual transition took place within the year itself to what we call the small Onza. And that's basically a nomenclature from the grading companies, but that's what it looks like. It's kind of like a mix and match of uppercase, lowercase letters. But the actual interesting part about 1991, the grand majority, this is a 1991, they were in the small Onza format. And this is the most common. The grand majority of the Mintage was that way. And they had basically about 50,000 to like 55,000 of this version of the coin. It essentially was the trial, and the first time around, they had that type of font called the small Onza font. And that went all the way to 1995. Two things are happening at the same time as we transition from 1995 to 1996. So far we saw in that first transition, the change in font from the quote unquote large Onza to small Onza. And I mean, we've referenced to just the Onza, but the Plata Pura font is also changing. But because of the nomenclature of the grading companies, we say small Onza, large Onza. The first very obvious one, just looking at this visually, is the diameter of the coins. From 82 to 95, it was 38 millimeters in diameter. And we move now from 1996 to current state of the latest release in 2024, we are at 40 millimeters. The other big change is the design itself of what we all now know. This is the reverse side, the entire design itself. This is a frontal facing Angel of Independence, and now we kind of have the Angel of Independence at an angle. The Obverse remains the same design. The diameter different, of course, but the design on the Obverse is the same. The last big change happens at the end of 1999 as we transition into the year 2000, and it's not happening here on the reverse side. It's actually happening on the Obverse side, where the single coat of arms to now that single coat of arms, let's flip this around really quick, is shrunk on the center, and now we have 10 coats of arms from Mexico's previous history. And then this is the full design that's been in place all the way till 2024 so far. I put this little graphic together to kind of summarize each of those feature changes over the years here in one view. Kind of lets you appreciate what's going on. And I'll have this on the screen as I talk about something else. I shaded in gray a couple of years. We did touch upon the first one. 1991 was that transition of large Onza font to small Onza font. And so that's key because 1991 has that key year of the small Onza font variety, which is about 50 to 55,000 mintage. So I wanted to highlight that. It's kind of important in the series. The other one I wanted to touch upon in the transition from 1999 to 2000, there was a couple of coins, and it's estimated to be about 20 right now, that have been graded by the grading companies. That it's called a Mule. And essentially the Mule was, you're supposed to have the transition of, you're supposed to have the current coat of arms on the 99 coin. The grand majority 99 coins, they do. But there was a couple of quote unquote mules where that obverse side actually already had the new coat of arms design on it. And so it's considered a key coin, key date to kind of own, and it's quite expensive. It's in the thousands of dollars to have one of those. But there is something I mentioned in an earlier video I just want to highlight again here. In my second video, I talked about the percentage of mintage for every year and how much of it has been graded by year. And pretty much the big theme I told you about, for the grand majority of the coins, less than 1% of the mintage has been graded. So the statistics that are being highlighted here, that really has driven my thought process in the past of to not spend all that money on that 99 2000 Mule coin. And I quickly put my cursor there around the 1999, and it's just a little over 1% of the mintage has been graded. So statistically speaking, it's a long shot to me that we'll only have about 20 mules out there. To me, it's only a matter of time where there's some catalyst that will drive people to take those old coins out of their safes and send them into the grading companies, open up rolls, send those to the grading companies. And next thing you know, you'll have a lot more mules on the market and the price will adjust accordingly. All the information in this graphic I shared really came out of this book. And this is why I keep talking about this book. It's a fantastic book. And unlike the shortage or quote unquote shortage that happens with the Dansco albums, this book has finally been republished and it's much easier to get. It's an absolute go-to for modern Mexican coinage. And I mean, it has its own dedicated chapter on Libertads. It's become a little outdated. It actually only has discussions up to the 2014 Libertad. But I mean, everything that's in there, I kind of took from the book and I just presented to you in a different format. So while having a Dansco album is pretty cool for putting together a Libertad set, I want to talk about one of the downsides when it comes to this, and I've seen it again and again and again. What I see happen is folks over the years have put together these sets, and at some point, either financial pressures or they want to decide to, liquidate these and start a different series from some other coins in the world. They'll put these out there on eBay or some of the Reddit groups or Facebook groups. And I see a couple things that happen as a result of it. And I think it's really worth mentioning because the 98% of the time when these are put out for sale, there's no active collector that says, hey, cool, a full album, one shot, let me get it right now. The grand majority of the time, that's not happening. So what's happening the majority of the time from a seller standpoint, they're thinking they're going onto the market, they want to get rid of it, they need to liquidate it for one reason or another, and they understand, I don't want to go through the hassle of taking these out, selling them one at a time. It's a hassle, it takes up time. I'm willing to give up some value by selling it all in one shot. What I think happens is they underestimate how much value they're actually losing. I'm here to tell you that it is worth your time to take each one of these out one at a time, to sell the empty album itself, which has considerable value, at least for being just paper cardboard. It actually has pretty good value. And then you should go and sell each one of these one at a time, because what I see happening is a lot of folks, they're giving up these sets for pennies on the dollar. They're probably thinking, yeah, maybe I'll get 90 cents on the dollar. They're getting much less than that most of the time. So from a prospective buyer's point of view, what they're saying is, hey, if I could get this for the right price, I'll break it apart. I'll sell the album and I'll sell one at a time. And what they do is they start looking for nuances in the set. They'll say, hey, let me see your 91. They want to see perhaps like this one. This is a rarity where, hey, this person put in the type 2. Maybe he doesn't know it. They want to look at the conditions of some of the other key dates. Hey, how does that 97 look? What's the condition like? Please give me some close-up pictures. Let me look at the 98 and also the 99. And they're already valuing how much they could flip it for by looking at some of these key pieces and assessing the value. And it's a disappointment. So if you as a collector one day have to liquidate these, I'm telling you, you have to sell one at a time. Or really, you're going to end up with like 60 cents on the dollar. It's sad, but I see that happening over and over again. To be clear, I don't have any issue with that type of transaction. You have a seller looking to liquidate their set, willing to give up some value to liquidate it all at once. I'm just here to let you know that you're losing more value than you think. What I have a problem with, and I hear it all the time, some of these smaller sellers, low-level distributors, they're on these social media sites I tell you about, the Reddit groups, the Facebook groups, Instagram as well. They're always complaining, oh, why do people keep buying from big dealers like APMEX? And here's the thing nobody talks about. And some of those same sellers are here fabricating hype all the time, spinning stories to make coins just seem more scarcer than they really are. And this just happened yesterday. I mean, why do this? Why trigger this artificial FOMO? What happens is you push new collectors. Folks are just starting out into buying based on fear rather than facts. And what gets to me is now you got these clown show sellers misleading people with total nonsense, hyping up coins with fake scarcity just to make a quick buck. And at what cost? It's not just the money. I don't think they understand that. They're looking for a short-term payout and giving up a long-term benefit. You're scaring off the very people that are excited to start collecting Mexican Libertads and other Mexican coins. Someone new comes in thinking, hey, wow, I'm going to start collecting Mexican coins. This is my thing. And then boom, they get ripped off right out of the gate. And now that enthusiasm is just gone. They're like, forget this. I'm done. I'll just collect silver eagles, you know. At least I won't get burned there. But what you did was just cut a coin collecting journey short that could have lasted years. You didn't just kill to make a single sale. You killed a collector and long-term customer. Somebody who could have been a passionate community member contributing just like this. All because you wanted to squeeze a few extra dollars out of folks. You know, so this latest hype that, oh, they're only going to mint 300 brilliant uncirculated coins for 2025 Libertads. Are you kidding me? Do you have any idea the cost involved of just making 300 Libertads for a BU release? Purchasing the die tooling, making the dies, manufacturing and distribution? Are you kidding me? And this has not happened just now. This isn't new. There was a couple of years ago, someone went and fetched a Spanish article from Mexico and they tried to finesse it. And basically the article's premise was, you know, they're only going to be releasing, I don't remember the exact figure, but it was something like between 50,000 and 75,000 1-ounce silver Libertads. They're only going to release that many. But the nuance was they're only going to release that many in Mexico, and the rest would be distributed to the rest of the world. So a bunch of sellers, just to make like a 25%, even more markup out of the gates, they ripped people off with this lie. And then, you know, once these coins came into distribution, the prices converged to the right price point. Again, just looking to make a few dollars up front. And now people know your reputation. You lose long-term collectors just because you ripped off folks on a one-time transaction instead of hooking them in and keeping them transacting year after year after year in their journey. But hey, that's just me, right? So I'd hate to end the video on a negative note. So I want to end it on a positive note. So let me share a little story with you. This is a very low mintage Mexican coin. And I picked this up a little over a year ago on Instagram from a seller. He basically is known to do quote unquote flash sales where he puts a bunch of items up for sale for fixed prices. No type of like bidding action, just straight up like a buy it now. And the first one to comment buy it now gets it. And he put up this coin. It's pretty sought after, less than 10,000 of these, very low mintage type coin. But I mean, you got to be really deep down the rabbit hole to want to get this. But when you find out about it, you're like, I got to have it. And he had it at a very, very favorable price point. I don't remember the exact number, but it was very good. It was like $200 when other folks were charging closer to $400 for this coin. And, you know, what happened there was I put buy it now as my comment, and you had a couple of folks jump in right after and say, I'll give you $100 more. Another one, I'll give you $150 more. But what did he do? This is the gentleman I'm talking about. What did he do? He honored the original price. He was not looking for short-term profits to lose a long-term customer. He didn't do that. And this guy is a straight shooter. He's not paying me to say this. I always talk about this guy and send people this guy's way because he does things right. You want to know what the funniest part about this guy? He openly shares how to correctly sell, how to build up a customer base freely. People send him DMs. He'll share information from DMs when people ask him this freely. He's opening up the book, showing you how it's done. So folks that have all this extra time, they want to sell coins. He's showing you how it's done. And yet I see people converge to this greed, this like, I'm going to rip this guy off for $50 or $100 extra on this coin. I don't understand when this is the freaking case study right here of a guy who makes it work and he just gets more and more and more popular. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Click like and subscribe for more.